The Galactic Council chamber floated in open space like a shining crown. It was bigger than any city on Earth. Rings of light surrounded it, and stars burned quietly in the dark beyond its walls. Inside, the air vibrated with voices from hundreds of alien species. This was where the galaxy decided its future. The chamber was full. Tall beings with glowing eyes sat beside massive creatures covered in armor-like skin. Machines shaped like living statues stood silently. Some species had ruled star systems for thousands of years. Others had ended wars that humans only read about in history. At the very center of the chamber stood a single human. Her name was Ambassador Elena Ward. She stood straight, hands calmly folded behind her back. She wore a simple dark uniform, clean and undecorated. No heavy armor, no weapons, no dramatic display of power. Compared to the aliens around her, she looked small, weak, young. Many eyes were fixed on her, not with fear, but with curiosity and amusement. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had joined the galactic community only a few decades ago. In galactic time, that was nothing. Most species remembered humans as noisy newcomers who asked too many questions and spoke too boldly. The council speaker, a tall alien with silver skin and long, thin arms, leaned forward. "Ambassador Ward," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have requested emergency council time. State your reason." Elena lifted her head. "Humanity has detected a major threat moving through uncharted space," she said calmly. "It will reach populated systems soon. We request immediate joint action." A pause followed. Then someone laughed. It was soft at first. A low sound from one corner of the chamber. Then another laugh joined it. And another. Soon, laughter rolled through the chamber like a wave. Some aliens shook their heads. Others leaned toward each other, whispering jokes. A few openly stared at the human and smiled. One council member spoke, a bulky creature with 4 eyes and heavy breathing. "Humans detect threats everywhere," he said. "You are a fearful species." Another alien added, "Your technology is basic. Your fleets are small. How could you detect something we have not?" More laughter followed. Elena did not react. She waited. The speaker raised a hand, allowing the noise to die down slightly. "Ambassador," he said, "many great empires scan the deep galaxy. None have reported such a danger." Elena nodded once. "That does not mean the threat is not real." A sharp, mocking voice cut in. "And we should trust humans?" said a reptilian council member. "You barely defend your own borders." The chamber erupted again. Some aliens openly laughed now. One pointed at Elena. Another made a gesture that clearly meant weakness. The speaker allowed it. He was smiling. Elena felt the weight of the moment. This was not just about data. It was about respect. She activated the small data pad on her wrist. A 3-dimensional map appeared in the air, showing movement in deep space. "This is not theory," she said. "This force has already erased several unregistered systems. No survivors. No signals." An avian alien fluttered its wings. "Unregistered systems mean nothing." Another voice said, "Every young species thinks the galaxy will end tomorrow." The speaker leaned back in his seat. "The council has reviewed your data," he said calmly. "We find it unconvincing." Elena clenched her jaw for a brief moment. Then she relaxed. "Then allow humanity to respond alone," she said. That sentence caused a new kind of reaction. The laughter returned, louder than before. "Respond alone," someone repeated. A mechanical being tilted its head. "With what?" "Your tiny fleets." Another alien slapped the table in amusement. "This is entertaining." Elena looked around the chamber. Hundreds of faces. None of them took her seriously. She spoke again, slower this time. "If humanity is forced to act alone, the consequences will affect the entire galaxy." The speaker's smile faded slightly. "Is that a threat?" he asked. Elena met his eyes. "It is a warning." The word echoed. For just a second, the chamber was quiet. Then the laughter exploded. The speaker stood. "This council will not be intimidated by a minor species." He raised the ceremonial gavel. "Humanity's concerns are officially noted." he said. "This emergency session is dismissed." The gavel struck the platform. The sound echoed like a final judgment. Around Elena, council members began to stand. Conversations restarted. Laughter continued. The moment was over, but Elena did not move. She took a slow breath. Then she spoke one last time, her voice quiet but clear. "Then humanity will act alone." No one responded. No one cared. Security drones hovered closer, signaling her to leave. Elena turned and walked away from the center of the galaxy's greatest hall. Behind her, the council laughed. They did not see the message being sent from her datapad. They did not hear the words spoken in a human command room far away. Authorization confirmed. Phase 1 begins now. As Elena stepped into her transport ship, the chamber doors closed behind her. The laughter continued. Far beyond the council's reach, in the cold darkness between stars, something moved, and within minutes, the galaxy would begin to fall silent. Far from the shining halls of the Galactic Council, deep in space where no star maps were shared, something ancient and silent awakened. Human space was quiet, not peaceful, controlled. Hidden bases floated inside dark nebulae. Stations hid behind dead stars. Fleets rested without lights, without signals, without pride. To the galaxy, humans looked weak because humans wanted it that way. In a command chamber buried inside an asteroid, screens lit up at once. Ambassador Elena Ward stood before a long row of officers. Men and women from different nations of Earth stood together. No flags, no arguments, only focus. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. "They refused," she said simply. No one was surprised. A fleet commander spoke. Expected outcome. A scientist nodded. They always laugh. Elena placed her hands on the table. Phase 1 is authorized. That was all she said. Across human space, that sentence unlocked systems the galaxy had never seen. Hidden shipyards came alive, not with noise or fire, but with quiet movement. Massive vessels slid out of shadow, their hulls blacker than space itself. They were not shaped to impress. They were shaped to survive. Human ships did not glow. They did not announce themselves. They did not care to be seen. Deep inside each ship, human crews prepared without words. They had trained for this moment for generations. Humanity did not build weapons to scare others. They built them because history had taught them one lesson. If you are underestimated, you live longer. In a distant control room, a young officer looked at the main screen. "All systems green," she said. "Ghost Network online." The Ghost Network was humanity's greatest secret. It was not a weapon. It was not an army. It was access. For decades, humans had quietly connected to galactic systems, trade routes, navigation beacons, defense grids, communication hubs. They did not break in. They were invited. Every time humans offered help, repairs, or upgrades, they added something extra, something small, something invisible. No one noticed. Why would they? Humans were harmless. In the Galactic Council chamber, the meeting continued without humans. New topics were raised. Old rivalries returned. No one noticed the first warning sign. A trade relay near the outer rim failed. Technicians blamed a solar flare. Then another relay went dark. Then another. Across several systems, ships began reporting navigation errors. Star maps showed empty space where stars should be. Minor problems. Annoying but not dangerous. At least, that was what the report said. Back in human command, Elena watched quietly. "Phase 1 status?" she asked. A voice replied, calm and steady. "Containment complete. No detection." Humanity was not attacking worlds. They were removing options. In a heavily armed alien system known for mocking humans, a defense fleet suddenly lost power. Reactors shut down. Weapons went cold. Panic spread through the fleet. Commanders shouted orders. Nothing responded. Their ships drifted like dead metal. Then their long-range sensors went blind. No enemy appeared. No shots were fired. The stars around them felt wrong. In another system, a proud empire attempted to call for help. Their signal never left the planet. Communication towers stood silent. On the surface, citizens looked up at the sky and felt fear for the first time in centuries. They did not know why, only that the universe had stopped answering them. Back in the Galactic Council, a junior official rushed into the chamber. "Several systems have gone offline," he announced. The speaker frowned. "Define offline." "No signals. No response. No data." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "This is coincidence," someone said. "Natural interference," another added. Still, the laughter from earlier did not return. Meanwhile, human fleets moved. They did not jump into systems. They surrounded them. Invisible, silent, waiting. Human commanders watched screens filled with data. Heartbeats stayed calm. No cheers. No celebration. This was not victory. This was prevention. Elena stood alone for a moment, looking at a distant star on the main display. "That star mocked us once," she said softly. An officer beside her hesitated. "Orders." She nodded once. "Isolate." The star dimmed slightly. Not destroyed. Controlled. Across the galaxy, more systems felt the same quiet fear. No explosions. No warning messages. Just silence where certainty used to be. In the council chamber, the speaker's confidence finally cracked. "Locate the source," he ordered. "All of you, find out who is doing this." Data streams poured in. Every analysis pointed to one impossible answer. Human network signatures. Human technology patterns. Human timing. "No," the speaker whispered. But deep down he knew they had laughed at humans. They had ignored the warning. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand something far too late. Humans did not need permission. They did not need approval. They only needed to decide. And they had already decided. Far beyond the council chamber, the stars continued to fall silent, one by one. The first system to go silent was called Keros Prime. It was not small. It was not weak. Keros Prime was a powerful alien system with 5 inhabited planets, massive shipyards, and one of the strongest defense fleets in that region of space. Its rulers were proud and loud. They had laughed openly during the council meeting. One of their delegates had even called humans temporary guests of the galaxy. That delegate never laughed again. The silence began slowly. At first, Keros Prime's central star flickered, just a minor shift in brightness. Astronomers noticed it and logged the data. Nothing alarming. Then the system's long-range scanners began to fail. Operators ran checks. Systems rebooted. Engineers blamed outdated hardware and solar noise. Still nothing worked. Within minutes, trade ships arriving at the system's edge reported something impossible. Navigation stars were gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Their maps showed empty darkness where familiar stars should have been. Confusion turned into fear. The Keros defense fleet was ordered to full readiness. Hundreds of warships powered up. Weapons charged. Shields rose. Then the reactors shut down. Every ship, at the same time. Commanders shouted orders. Engineers screamed warnings. Control panels went dark. The fleet drifted, silent and helpless. No enemy appeared. No shots were fired. The space around them felt heavy, like the universe itself was watching. On Keros Prime's main world, city lights flickered. Power grids failed. Communication towers stopped transmitting. People looked to the sky, and for the first time in their history, the stars did not answer. Deep outside the system, hidden beyond detection, human ships watched. They were close enough to end the system in seconds. They did nothing. Human commanders observed calmly. System isolated. One officer reported, "No outgoing signals." Another added, "Civilian life sign stable." Elena Ward stood behind them, her face unreadable. "Maintain silence," she said. Humanity was not here to destroy. They were here to prove a point. Back at the Galactic Council, alarms finally sounded. A senior analyst rushed forward, her voice shaking. "Keros Prime is offline," she said. "Complete blackout." The chamber erupted in chaos. "That's impossible. They are too strong." This must be an attack. The speaker stood up sharply. By whom? The analyst swallowed. We don't know. But deep inside, many already suspected the truth. Reports flooded in. Another system lost communication. Then another, all powerful, all confident, all dismissive of humanity. Patterns formed quickly, too quickly. One council member turned slowly toward the empty human seat. No, he whispered. In human space. Phase 1 continued with cold precision. Systems were not destroyed. They were paused. Human technology reached into galactic infrastructure like invisible hands, gently but firmly closing doors. Trade stopped. Military movement froze. Information died. The galaxy had never imagined such control was possible. That was because no one had tried it before. Human scientists had learned something important long ago. Every empire, no matter how ancient, relies on connection. Cut the connections, and power means nothing. On Kairos Prime, leaders gathered in a dark chamber lit by emergency lights. What do we do? One asked. Call the council, another shouted. They tried. No signal left the planet. A general slammed his fist on the table. Prepare ground defenses. Against what? There was no enemy to see. No target to strike. No sound of war. Only silence pressing in from every direction. Somewhere in deep space, a human officer spoke quietly. Kairos Prime requesting internal power stabilization. Elena nodded once. Grant minimum support. A small fraction of power returned. Enough for survival. Not enough for resistance. On the planet below, lights came back on. Air systems stabilized. Hospitals functioned again. The message was clear. Humanity controlled whether they lived comfortably or barely at all. Back in the council chamber, panic turned into fear. The speaker slammed his gavel repeatedly. Find the humans, he shouted. Open channels. Now. A signal finally reached human command. It was weak. Desperate. Human representatives. The speaker said, his voice no longer confident. Explain what is happening. Elena appeared on the main display. She did not smile. This is phase 1, she said calmly. Containment. The chamber went silent. You are attacking us, a council member demanded. Elena shook her head. No, we are preventing chaos. You had no right, another shouted. Elena leaned forward slightly. We warned you. The speaker struggled to keep control. End this immediately. Elena's eyes hardened. We will, she said, when the threat is addressed, when humanity is no longer ignored. The transmission ended. In the chamber, no one spoke. The galaxy had finally understood. This was not a war. This was not conquest. This was dominance without destruction. Across the stars, silence spread further. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the true threat humanity had warned about continued its approach. Unseen, unstoppable. But now, the galaxy was too busy fearing humans to notice what was coming. The Galactic Council chamber had never felt so small. The vast hall that once echoed with laughter now carried only low voices and nervous movement. Council members sat closer than before. Some whispered. Some stared at dark data screens. Others watched the empty space where the human seat had been. Silence had replaced pride. The speaker stood at the center, his silver skin dull under the harsh lights. His long fingers trembled as he read report after report. Kairos Prime remains isolated. An analyst said, partial power only. No external communication. Another voice followed quickly. 7 more systems have lost long-range contact. All military movement frozen. The speaker looked up slowly. Frozen how, he asked. The analyst hesitated. Their ships function. Their crews are alive. But navigation fails. Weapons will not activate. Command codes are rejected. A council member stood suddenly. That is impossible. No species has that level of control. No one answered, because no one believed that anymore. Across the chamber, fear grew like a living thing. This was not destruction. This was worse. This was helplessness. An older council member, one of the founding species, leaned forward. This reminds me of the first Dark Age, he said quietly. Several heads turned. That was a myth, someone said. The elder shook his head. No, it was a lesson. One species learned how to turn the galaxy off. The words settled heavily in the air. In human command, Elena Ward stood before a live projection of the council chamber. She watched without speaking. Beside her, a strategist spoke softly. They're unraveling. Elena nodded. As expected. Phase 2? Another officer asked. Not yet, she replied. Let them understand first. Understanding was spreading fast. Across the galaxy, leaders realized the truth at the same moment. Humanity had not built the biggest fleets. They had built the deepest access. Every trade agreement, every shared system upgrade, every cooperative project had been a doorway, and humans had walked through all of them quietly. In one isolated system, a powerful warlord screamed at his engineers, "Fix it. Fix everything." They could not, because nothing was broken. It was simply denied. Back in the council chamber, the speaker made a decision he never thought he would make. Open a full channel to human command, he said. No filters. No delays. The request was sent. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the air above the chamber shimmered. Elena Ward appeared. Not in armor, not with guards. Just a human, in a simple uniform. The chamber froze. Every eye was on her. You have caused chaos across the galaxy, the speaker said, forcing strength into his voice. You will explain yourself. Elena met his gaze. We warned you, she said again. You laughed. A council member stood, shaking with anger. You manipulated our systems. You deceived us. Elena nodded. Yes. Gasps filled the chamber. We did, she continued, because honesty was not enough. Another council member shouted, This is an act of war. Elena's voice remained calm. No, this is restraint. The speaker slammed his hand on the table, and this immediately. Elena leaned forward slightly. You still do not understand, she said. We are not here to rule you. We are here to protect the galaxy. From what? Someone demanded. Elena paused. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. From what is coming, she said. The chamber fell silent. You dismissed our warning, Elena continued. You chose comfort over preparation. If we had waited, the galaxy would already be burning. The speaker scoffed weakly. And we are to trust you now? Elena's eyes hardened. You already do, she said. Every ship you cannot move. Every system you cannot reach. Every signal you cannot send. The truth struck hard. Trust had never been asked. It had already been taken. A younger council member whispered, What happens if we resist? Elena answered without hesitation. Then you will survive alone. Fear spread through the chamber like ice. The speaker lowered himself slowly into his seat. What do you want? He asked. Elena straightened. We want unity, she said. Real unity. Not words spoken in halls like this. She gestured toward the stars beyond the chamber. The threat we detected is still coming. We can stop it, but only if the galaxy listens. And if we refuse, the speaker asked quietly. Elena's answer was simple. Then Phase 2 begins. No one asked what Phase 2 meant. They already feared it. The transmission ended. Around the chamber, council members sat in stunned silence. Some felt anger. Some felt shame. Most felt relief. Because despite everything, humanity had not destroyed them. Humanity had waited. Far beyond the council, in deep space, massive human fleets held position. Still silent. Still unseen. Waiting for the galaxy's answer. And further still, beyond charts and imagination, something ancient moved closer. The galaxy had wasted its time laughing. Now it had no time left at all. The galaxy did not surrender all at once. At first, it resisted in silence. Orders were sent that never reached their targets. Fleets prepared for battle but could not move. Weapons powered up but refused to fire. Generals shouted. Leaders threatened and pride burned, but none of it changed reality. The stars were no longer listening. Across dozens of systems, the same truth became clear. They were trapped, not by force, by control. In one powerful empire, a high admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship. He had fought wars for over 100 cycles. He had crushed weaker species and bent rivals to his will. Now his ship drifted like a dead stone. "Report," he demanded. A nervous officer replied. "No navigation, no weapons, no long-range sensors." The admiral clenched his claws. "Then what do we have?" The officer swallowed. "Life support." That was all. Elsewhere, trade worlds collapsed within hours. Without access to the galactic network, food shipments stopped. Energy grids weakened. Markets fell into chaos. And yet, no planets burned. No cities were bombed. Humanity watched. They adjusted systems carefully. Civilian life was allowed to continue. Hospitals received power. Atmospheric controls stayed active. The message was clear. This was not punishment. This was leverage. In human command, Elena Ward stood before a massive display showing the galaxy in soft light. Some stars glowed bright. Others dimmed, marked as isolated. "How many left?" she asked. A strategist replied, "Less than 20% of Council space remains unrestricted." "And resistance?" Elena asked. "Minimal, mostly fear. Some anger." Elena nodded slowly. "Good." One officer hesitated. "Some leaders are calling this mercy. Others call it slavery." Elena turned to face them. "Mercy is a choice," she said. "Slavery removes choice. They still have one." "What choice?" the officer asked. Elena looked back at the stars. "To listen." In the Galactic Council chamber, the pressure finally broke. A once proud council member stood, his voice shaking. "We cannot continue like this," he said. "Our people are afraid. Our fleets are useless." Another shouted, "We should fight." "With what?" someone replied bitterly. The speaker looked older now, smaller. He raised a trembling hand. "We will request terms." The words tasted like ash. A full transmission was sent to human command. This time, it was not a demand. It was a plea. Elena appeared once more before the council. Her face showed no joy, no anger, only resolve. "You have our attention," she said. The speaker bowed his head slightly. The chamber gasped. "What must we do?" he asked. Elena answered slowly, carefully. "You must unify your defense under a single command," she said. "And that command must include humanity as an equal." Murmurs spread. "And second," she continued, "you will acknowledge the threat we detected. All resources will be redirected to prepare for it." A council member stood angrily. "And if we refuse?" Elena looked at him. "Then you will face it alone," she said. The council member sat down. Silence followed. "At last," the speaker spoke again. "We agree." Across the galaxy, the moment was felt. Human systems began to unlock carefully. Not fully, not freely, just enough. Ships regained limited movement. Communication returned under human oversight. Trade resumed under new rules. The galaxy breathed again, but differently. This time it breathed carefully. In many systems, people looked up at the stars and felt something new. Fear mixed with relief. They were alive, but they were no longer in control. In the days that followed, human advisors arrived quietly across council space. They did not command openly. They guided. They corrected. They prepared defenses no one else had imagined. Human engineers reinforced ancient shields. Human scientists shared warning data. Human fleets positioned themselves at key points, visible now, no longer hiding. For the first time, the galaxy truly saw them, and they understood the mistake they had made. Humans were not weak. They were patient. Far beyond council space, the true enemy continued its advance. Ancient, silent, consuming everything in its path. But now, for the first time, it would not face a divided galaxy. It would face humanity, and those who followed them. Elena stood alone in a quiet observation room, watching distant stars. An officer joined her. "Do you think they forgive us?" he asked. Elena did not answer right away. "Forgiveness is not important," she said finally. "Survival is." She turned away from the window. "Prepare Phase 3, she ordered. "What is Phase 3? The officer asked. Elena's eyes hardened. "Now," she said. We stopped what's coming. Outside, the galaxy had gone quiet, not in fear, not in chaos, but in readiness. The laughter was gone. The silence remained. And for the first time in its long history, the galaxy waited for humanity to lead. The galaxy had never been so quiet. Not the silence of fear. Not the silence of broken systems. This was the silence before a storm. Across hundreds of star systems, fleets waited. Alien ships stood beside human vessels for the first time in history. Old enemies shared data. Ancient rivals followed the same command signals. Humanity now stood at the center of galactic defense, not by force, by necessity. In the main human command center, Elena Ward watched a massive star map. A dark shape moved slowly at the edge of known space. It swallowed stars without sound. Entire systems vanished behind it. The threat was real. It always had been. Distance? Elena asked. 3 weeks at current speed, a scientist replied. Murmurs spread through the room. 3 weeks was nothing on a galactic scale. Elena nodded. Begin full deployment. Human fleets moved first. They did not rush. They did not panic. They formed layers, defense within defense. Energy grids linked between ships. Weapons powered up, but remained cold. Alien commanders watched in silence. They had never seen anything like this. Human ships were not beautiful. They were not impressive to look at, but they worked together like a single living thing. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives watched the same data feed. Fear sat heavy on every face. The speaker stood slowly. Ambassador Ward, he said, "If we survive this, what happens to the galaxy?" Elena looked at him. "That depends on what you learn," she said. The speaker lowered his head. The threat arrived sooner than expected. At the edge of the first defense line, space began to bend. Light twisted. Stars stretched like reflections on water. Then the darkness appeared. Not a ship, not a fleet, a presence. It consumed energy. It erased signals. Weapons that fired into it simply vanished. Several alien ships were lost in seconds. Panic surged. "Hold formation," human commanders ordered. Human ships did not retreat. They adapted. New frequencies activated. New patterns formed. Human weapons did not attack the darkness directly. They contained it. Energy fields wrapped around the advancing void, slowing it. For the first time, the threat reacted. It pushed back. Human ships were damaged. Crews were injured. Some vessels were lost. But the line held. Elena watched every loss. Her hands clenched. "Deploy Phase 3, she said. Humanity's final secret activated. Across the battlefield, stars began to glow brighter, not hotter, but steadier. Human technology linked stellar output, turning stars themselves into anchors of reality. The darkness slowed, then stopped. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Humans were not fighting the enemy. They were denying it space to exist. A final surge came from a void, a desperate attempt to break free. Elena spoke softly. "Now." Human systems shifted. The darkness collapsed inward, folding into itself until it vanished completely. The battlefield went silent. No cheers followed. No celebration. Only stunned relief. The galaxy had survived because humans had prepared. In the days that followed, damaged systems were repaired. Lost ships were mourned. Humanity shared its technology openly for the first time, not as leverage but as protection. The Galactic Council met again. This time, the chamber felt different. No one laughed. No one mocked. The speaker stepped forward and bowed fully. "Humanity saved us," he said. "Not because you were strongest, but because you were ready." Elena stood. "We were ready because we assumed no one would help us," she said. "That is humanity's curse and its strength." A council member asked quietly, "What do you want now?" Elena looked around the chamber. "At first," she said, We wanted respect. She paused. Now we want something better. The chamber leaned in. We want a galaxy that does not laugh when someone warns of danger, she said. A galaxy that listens. Silence followed. Then the speaker nodded. It will be so, he said. Humanity did not take control of the council. They reformed it. Power was shared. Systems were protected equally. No species was ignored again, not even the smallest. Years later, historians would look back on that day. They would not remember the laughter. They would remember the silence. The moment when the galaxy realized that humanity was not loud, not proud, not cruel, but when pushed, humanity ended threats not with fire, but with certainty. And from that day forward, whenever a new species joined the stars, they were told a simple truth: never laugh at humans, because if they stop talking, the galaxy goes quiet.